Hello, we're continuing in Yecheskel. This year is in memory of Chayalea Bas Reb Chaim Tzvi, Rachalea Bas Reb Chaim Tzvi, and this Perek is very different than anything we've learned until now. The Perek is completely addressed to non-Jews. So this isn't only this Perek, but in fact there are going to be a few prakim, one after the other, in which Yecheskel reveals to us the fate of the non-Jewish nations. So just by way of introduction, you could ask yourself, what's this about? So unlike, let's say, Yonah, who was told to actually prophesize to the nations, this isn't what he was told. Now from the language, since it is second person, you could tell that obviously they're meant to hear this, but he wasn't overtly instructed to go to them. So that tells us that it has a different purpose. In order to understand its purpose, we have to focus upon the relationship of the Jews and the non-Jewish world. We're often accused by the non-Jewish world and by some Jews as being insular, as caring only for ourselves. When you listen to the sort of thing that comes out of the Arabist lobby in Washington, they consider all Jews potentially traitors. Every concern is only for ourselves, for Israel. Okay, and there's a grain of truth in it. And there has to be a grain of truth in a lie that's believed by sincere people, because that's what gives it life. So let's look at our place amongst the nations. We're described as Goy Kadosh Mamlechet Kohanim. Let's think about what these words mean. Malbim tells us that there's a difference between the word Goy and Am. Okay, the word Goy, neither word, by the way, has a direct English translation. Goy means a nation, but it means the people who join together as such, not because of their political unity, but because of their commonality. So when you talk about, for instance, the great Arab nation, you're not talking about a people who have a king, who have a specific vision of what reality should look like politically, although they would like restoration of the caliphate. But you're talking about people who speak the same language and who have the same culture. This is what the word Goy is meant to convey. People who are bonded together, not necessarily under a king, not necessarily politically. A higher level, a more developed level, is the people who have a vision. So, for that, you need another word. That word is Am. Am is a people with a vision, with leadership, who want to bring themselves into a position of influence, either by their example or through their dominance. We're called Goy Kadosh, not Am Kadosh, although we are referred to as Am Kadosh in various places. But at Matan Torah, when we're defined, we're called Goy Kadosh. So what that means is that our leadership isn't based on dominance or politics, or having a king who's an exemplar of our values. Our nationhood is based on our commonality. We have something in us that demands Kedusha. What's Kedusha? So as many of you know, the word Kadosh in Hebrew means separate. So that leads obviously to the question, separate from? From what? And the answer, as a nation, would be separate from that which limits. Just as a person, a holy person is someone who's separate from subjectivity, to a degree from the constraints of time and space. As a nation, we have a certain spark of eternity. So our vision of self, and you could see this even amongst non-affiliated, non-religious Jews who identify as Jews, they believe in something more and something better and something higher. Goy Kadosh, separate from having a policy as a nation that has to do with what color geraniums should be planted at the traffic circle. We're also Mamlechet Kohanim, a kingdom of Kohanim. As we said, Am is a nation that has a leader and a vision. Mamlacha takes this one step further. We're people who want to give forth Hashem's rule into the world. A melech, a king, is there to create law, to decree. A mamlacha is a group of people who are dedicated to fulfilling those decrees. So here we are, an eternal people with a spark of something beyond here and now, who are dedicated. Okay, dedicated as Kohanim. The function of a Kohen is to draw down blessing and to uplift physicality. That's who we are. We're meant to make something of the world. So the way we do this is by developing ourselves as a community that could do it. We're meant to take the spiritual leadership of the world. So the nations of the world, when they say, why is this happening to us, should be able to look at the Jews and say the answer lies in their heritage and in their example. So an example of that in a contemporary setting would be the communists and the fall of communism. Communism was a horror, but it had, again, a spark of